I love it.
All right, I got you recording onto the cloud.
I know people are going to keep coming in. That's going to be annoying for you, Pam.
So let me log on, and then maybe I can make myself co-host, and then I'll monitor the room so you guys can just focus on that. I'll be
Yeah.
right back.
Did you make yourself co-host?
Not yet. I've got to log on.
Okay.
I'll do that. You guys can
We
start
can make
on
it.
the
Yeah.
side.
All right, cool. So we're today we're going to talk a little bit about just effective ways to work with buyers. I haven't worked with buyers in maybe like hot second, maybe about 4 years. I mean, I've maybe once in a while now I'll work with a buyer that calls me and says, "Hey, I'm going to buy this new construction property. Will you be my agent?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And then they literally write my name on the contract, and then I'll meet with them. But I used to work with buyers, and so what I would say is that working with buyers it was different for me 10 years ago in our Raleigh market because buyers had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of options, right? And today they don't, which I think is equally as hard, right? So sometimes I would have buyers that had 60 properties that I would show them and they still didn't buy a house. So that was the frustrating thing for me. It was like, just pick one, please, just pick a house. And we had a lot of foreclosures then, and they wanted to wait for better deals. And it was just a different monster. But the reality is when you start in your real estate business, typically working with buyers is a little bit easier. And that's where people gravitate towards because they're not dealing with those scary sellers, those scary for sale by owners and all that good stuff. So you get your first buyer and, you start to figure out how to become knowledgeable in the market. And I think that's the biggest fear. I was brand new in this market, couldn't get out of my neighborhood with GPS, not active. So imagine taking buyers all around and literally driving them down dead end roads, like whoops, because the GPS did not tell you that road was closed. So it was an interesting experience. But I think the first thing we have to think about is, how do we effectively speak with these buyers? How do we get them in and become their advisors? How do we fake it till we make it? A lot of it is fake it till we make it, especially if you haven't lived around this area and you just moved here. But I think at the end of the day, buyers just want to feel like they have an advocate, they have somebody who cares about them, and they feel like you're actually working. And so I think the biggest miss that a lot of us agents do is you get a buyer, you meet with them, I'm going to sign you up for an MLS search. And then you forget about them because the MLS search is doing all the work. And then you expect them to just reach out to you and call you when they see homes. And that's usually what they do, but they will not build a relationship of trust with you if they don't think that you're working. So the first thing I always tell my agents is make sure if you do have a buyer and you register them on an MLS search, that every couple of days I would sit on my couch and literally look through their search and pull a couple properties that they didn't pick that I think would be a good fit, and then actually reach out and say, "Hey, Sally, did you see these two properties? I know you didn't pick them, but I love this, this, and this about them. And I think that we should just see them anyway," because a lot of times buyers pick the home in person that they didn't pick online. So just making sure that you feel like you're working with them. But let's just talk about real quick follow-up scripts. So we come into real estate and we have to learn, which today is not learning how to get buyer leads. I mean, there's so many different ways that you could get buyer leads, obviously your sphere and people you talk to. And so we have lots of lead generation tactics, right? But you have the lead. And so I think, we kind of made some notes here. Before I give you the script, you guys are going to kind of laugh and say, well, that's it. That seems so easy, but it is really an easy script when you're calling a lead back. Most realtors receive a lead on a property and a sign call or an internet call. And then they call the prospect back and they say, "Hey, you contacted me about 123 Main Street. Did you get all the information you were looking for?" Who's done that? Right? Did you get all the information? Or, "Oh, I'm calling you about 123 Main Street. How can I help you with that?" And it's that specific property. We always do that because we look at the property on the lead source, right? In KV Core or whatever, and then we call them back. But the common pitfall is most buyers do not buy the property that they called about, or they forgot about it. They're looking at all these different properties. So the two basic goals that the prospect has when they're researching properties is basically to eliminate the property. So if you think about it, when you're purchasing something like a car, you're looking at cars online and you're eliminating them from too many miles, wrong color, doesn't have leather seats. So either way, you're going through and you're eliminating properties. So you want to make sure that you position yourself to give them something that they want. So when they're talking to you, they're like, I never thought about that. Or, hey, I have a list of off-market properties. Would that help you? Oh yeah, that would. So how can you make yourself different? So here's how it would look calling the prospect back about any lead or any, let's do a little role play. We'll do, you say no and you say yes, okay? So this is the basic, boring script that we would use. So, hey, Jen, this is Tina with eXp Realty. Thanks so much for taking my call. I'm calling to update my files to see if you're still in the market to buy a home or find out if you've already purchased something.
Hi, Tina. Actually, we just closed on a house 2 weeks ago.
You did? Oh, good for you. Where did you buy?
We ended up buying in North Raleigh.
North Raleigh. Well, that's amazing. Hey, Jen, the market is so active and interest rates are so cheap right now. Have you ever thought about buying an investment property?
No, actually not. But they really are low. We were surprised that we were able to lock in such a good rate.
Yeah, what I do with my clients is actually, I had a client that had $1 million sitting in her 401k account. We actually diversified that and we did a 1031 tax exchange so she could buy and keep buying different properties. Have you ever thought about using some of your investments to buy investment properties for your retirement one day?
Not until now.
Okay, well, what I'd love to do is just sit down with you for 15, 20 minutes, maybe even do a Zoom call, and I can show you the different properties that she invested her money in. So we could take $20,000 to $40,000 of your money and literally self-direct it into an investment property that will, make you money. Somebody will be paying down your debt. And because you've been blessed and you have some savings, that'll become a great investment in the next 15 years. So would you like to get on a call and talk about that?
My only question to you, Tina, and obviously, you know the market better than I do. I know that for us being able to secure this house, it was like a multiple offer situation, and it was just like this market really is crazy. So if I was to buy an investment home, it would be obviously something, on a lower price range. With the multiple offer situation, is that still doable to be able to secure like a couple of investment homes under that price point?
Yeah, it really just depends. When we think about an investment property, you might be thinking about the prime areas, Cary or North Raleigh, where there's a lot of competition. But if you're looking at an investment strategy, one of my mentors taught me that maybe you go outside of the most popular areas. Maybe you go to Knightdale or Clayton and you kind of go out a little bit. If you just need to find a renter to pay for the property, it may not be that you want a property in the most hot area, so there won't be as much action for that property.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah,
I haven't thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so we could definitely sit down and talk a little bit more about that and just I could give you live ideas when we're on the call, about which ones would be available and which ones have the best return. So.
Oh, perfect. Well, that sounds good.
Great. Well, what's better for you? We could do it later this afternoon for 20, 30 minutes or tomorrow between 5 and 6.
I could probably do tomorrow because my husband would, for one, probably want to be in it and kind of find out what I'm up to.
I just got a new buyer, right? I mean, that's a lead that all of us would have hung up on. You just bought a home? Oh, damn it. Hang up the phone, right? But we just got to dig deeper. We can just dig deeper and try to, their other realtor didn't tell them that. So, and she's obviously not married to the door opener that just opened the door, because that's a lot of times what these buyers, and sellers look at us at, unless we bring them value. So when you bring a customer value, they're more willing to work with you. And again, you don't have to know everything about investment properties, but you just need to know the fact that they can take money from another savings account that they have and redirect it. So a self-directed, investment, and 20, 30, 40,000, she might be able to buy 2 or 3. We've had clients that buy 2 or 3 or 4 rental properties from us, doing it that way. And so now you've got a buyer that potentially will buy 2 or 3 or 4 more, and they can buy them in Anger. That's a great place, places where, are not as, I don't even want to say attractive. They're just a little further out, right? So when you think you're working with a buyer, I tell my buyers, Holly Springs is what Cary was 8, 9 years ago. Apex 10 years ago wasn't even on the map, right? Beaver Creek Shopping Center wasn't there. So Mr. Buyer, you know, if you were buying in wanted to buy in Cary 10 years ago, I would direct you to Apex because Apex was growing. But now Holly Springs is what Apex was, right? And Fuquay is what Holly Springs was a few years ago. So as you start to migrate down, you're going to get more value from these cities that aren't as close to the most popular cities that already are unaffordable. So your affordability goes up, but your chance of making a profit also goes up because you're taking a little bit of a risk and going to Fuquay. But when you look at the infrastructure of each city, every city has a hub. So Raleigh had its downtown, and then what happened? Midtown. You've got inside the Beltline, grew to North Hills. North Hills became huge. North Ridge wasn't even around when Midtown became what it was. So people started to migrate out. Same thing with Cary. You've got Cary, now you've got downtown Cary. Apex, downtown Apex. Holly Springs, downtown Holly Springs. And then you've got Fuquay and downtown Fuquay. So anywhere there is a little downtown and the city has pretty much the same demographic as all these other cities that are hot, I think the buyers are going to get a lot of value by going to those cities.
What's up and coming?
And what's up? And Clayton, I love Clayton. I love Garner for investments too. So I had a buyer agent that told me a week ago. She said, "Oh, well, I was talking to this client, and they were moving from New York, and they said, what about Clayton?" And she said, and I told them, "You won't like Clayton." How do you know? Like, how do you know? We really don't know. And so when we get a buyer that comes from out of town, a lot of times I like to put them in the car themselves, and we give them a map of, here are the 10 addresses I want you to drive by on day one. And you give them that whole map. And that's their job, not to look at houses, because when they look at houses, those houses are going to be gone if this is their first experience. So it's really, I want you to drive down the road and feel how the city feels. Do I see myself living here? That way they can narrow down, without you in the car forever, down to the 2-3 cities that felt good to them. And then the next day we can go looking at the physical houses that we want to see. So that was our little script to dig down deeper for the appointment. So now we're going to do it again. Okay. Because I'm a new agent. I'm reading my new script. Ring, ring.
Hello,
Hi, is this Emily?
this is.
Hey, Emily, this is Tina with eXp Realty. Thanks so much for taking my call. Hey, I'm calling to update my files, and I see that you're still in the market. Oh, to see if you're still in the market to buy a home, or to find out if you've already purchased something.
Yeah, no, we've been looking actively.
Oh,
It
fantastic.
just seems like everything we find online, it's sold the next day. So we're
Yeah,
trying to kind of figure out what we should do. If we should continue to rent, or if we should just go for it. But yeah, we're definitely actively looking every day.
I got it. It's frustrating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Would it be helpful if I actually had a list of off-market properties that aren't on the market yet to bring those to your attention?
What is that? What is an off market?
An off-market property just means that, sorry, Pam's getting it. Off-market property just means that
I'm on Zoom.
it's not yet hit the market. It's not an MLS. So you actually would get first dibs on properties like that. I'm actually an expert at finding off-market properties.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what part of town are you most interested in?
Right now we've been looking in Cary and Morrisville, but it seems like it's super competitive. So we're willing to look a little bit outside, like Apex. We've heard Pittsburgh's kind of up and coming, so we might be willing to do Pittsburgh. We both work from home, so we don't have to commute to work.
Perfect. Perfect.
But you know, we don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I'm actually on my computer right now. I'm putting in the criteria live just to see what's out there. And again, once I know what you want, then I can actually match you to the off-market property as well as anything that's on the market. So how many bedrooms and baths and yada, yada. And we're going to keep going down that list, right? And she's going to be telling me, well, are you going to pay cash for the property, or do you actually need an amazing lender with great rates to help you?
Yeah,
buy that
no,
property?
we don't have a lender yet. We know we need to get that, because I know it'd be good for us to have a pre-approval letter from what we were told in
Mhm.
order to make our offer stronger. So
Perfect.
yeah, if you have someone that we can reach out to, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
I actually have, I work with 2 of the most competitive lenders in the market. I use them myself personally to purchase properties. But the thing is, when you use a local lender that every other agent in town knows versus a big bank, or, Wells Fargo or Bank of America,
Mhm.
your offers get accepted faster because that agent can tell the seller that they trust that lender. So I definitely would recommend 2 that are in our town. Would it be okay if I had one of them reach out to you today? Or
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just a little concerned. I don't want too many to reach out because I know if they pull our credit, right? Doesn't that affect your credit score? Or
I'll let them explain it to you. Actually, when you're shopping for a home, that's very common that you're going to be pulling your credit. So as long as you're buying a home in the next 3, 4, 5 months, I think
Okay.
it's absolutely fine. But to find the right lender partner, because it's a big investment for you, I think is really, really important. And like I said, we vet our lenders. They have great rates. People know them in the community. So to have that partner by your side is so important.
okay.
Yeah, so I can have them reach out to you. So it sounds like do you need to sell an existing home before you purchase?
No, that's a good thing. We're just renting month to month, so we're
Perfect.
pretty flexible on timeline.
Okay,
So,
wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful. Well, what I'd like to do, Emily, since I have your criteria and you've given me your price point and your location, there's 2 properties that come to my mind just off the top of my head, but I want to dig a little deeper. Why don't we do this? Can we meet later on today at 5 o'clock at one of the properties that I pull, and I'll text you on where to meet, and we can meet for 15, 20 minutes, see that property, and by that time I'll have curated that list of other properties that I think are a good match for you.
Yeah, that would be great if you
Okay,
could do
good.
that.
Perfect. Well, let's meet at 123 Apple Lane or Starbucks or wherever the office. I think the office is always like, oh God, it's an office. And I don't want to go to the office because that's so, rarely do our agents meet here at the, I never see clients in our office, people. I don't know where are our clients?
But we're selling
Where are you
houses.
meeting them? They're selling a lot of houses. They don't come to the office because I think it's so nice to meet somebody in a neutral zone at a Starbucks. I love meeting people at Starbucks because I can buy them something. Now you have reciprocity. Oh, this person just bought me a bagel and a coffee or whatever. And now I'm building rapport and we're just, friends at a Starbucks. And it's a fun environment when you can sit in a Starbucks. So we meet and I think the biggest thing that hopefully you guys caught is what did I do when I first talked to her and we started talking about what she needed in the market? Did anyone catch what I did?
Expert off market. You're an expert off market.
Yeah, I gave her something probably other people are not giving her, which is an off-market property list, right? I'm going to curate a list of off-market properties because her pain point was.
We just had a question
Yeah.
too on there for the same topic.
Mhm.
Where do you
Get
procure
them.
that list? Where is the off-market property?
Okay, so is a for sale by owner an off-market property? Okay, so we can go literally to Zillow, find 2 for sale by owners that meet our criteria, get another opportunity with a for sale by owner. Hey, I want to bring a buyer by. I've got a buyer. They're going to be in my cart later today at 5. And then I would send that for sale by owner a 1-party agreement, to make sure that you get your commission, or just make sure they're paying a commission or whatever. But I wouldn't bring the prospect to that property unless the prospect actually signed a buyer agency agreement, but I'm going to meet them before we take them to FSBO. But a FSBO property is an off-market property. The second thing is the way I've been taught is I can go into any neighborhood and prospect for off-market properties, right? I can call my own neighborhood. I can call whatever neighborhood I think that she could fit in. And I would cold call with that script, hey, this is Tina Caul, I'm a local real estate agent. And I literally just spoke to a buyer today that's looking to buy in your neighborhood. Who do you know that might be looking to sell? And they're going to say nobody. Say, oh, well, gosh, thank you so much for thinking about that. How about you? How long have you been at this address? I'm curious. Oh, we've been here 10 years. Really? 10 years? Where did you move from? Well, we moved from Ohio. Ohio, what brought you to North Carolina? Oh, my daughter lives here and my grandkids lived here. Really? So if you ever were to move, Bob, would you go back to Ohio or would you just downsize into something here? Oh, we would probably just downsize into something here. Great. When would that be? Again, you're just prospecting. If you do your job every single day in the morning for 2 hours a day, because nobody does it for 2 hours a day. Very rarely, I think, do I find people that do it for 2 hours a day. But if you did, especially when you have nothing to do because you're a newer agent, if you actually got the systems and processes in place to make these calls for this human that I just talked to over the phone, and you did your job and you teed up opportunities. Your job is to talk to people. If you don't like talking to people, you shouldn't be in real estate, right? You have to talk to people. And then when you talk to people, the goal is to build opportunities to get in front of the people. And then when you're in front of the people, hopefully you can do a good enough presentation where they want to work with you. And then you have an opportunity to earn a commission when you bring value. So my job with her is I want to say things that other agents aren't saying. I want to position myself as the best darn realtor in town that sounds like I know what I'm talking about. I want to digest information. I put on our Freedom Builders blog that whole market thing about Raleigh. I don't know if who read it. Who read that thing that we posted? It was like a 12, 15 page. Did you read any bits of it?
I think a little bit. I can get through the whole
Yeah,
thing now.
there's a lot. But my job is when I don't know what I don't know, I need to know something, right? And so when I'm reading things about our market, now when I'm in the car with her, when I meet her, I could say, hey, did you know that this, and this about our market? Our market has landed on, it's the #1 relocation market. So I know that we are going to have a challenge buying a home today, Emily, because everybody wants to move here. But the coolest thing for you to know is that when you sign on the dotted line and we do find your home, you are literally in one of the hottest markets, if not the hottest. So you're going to come in and immediately you know that your home is increasing in value. How cool is that? So is it going to be worth the hunt? Yes, because you're going to come in on the growth side of our market and just go up. So we're going to have to hunt, we're going to have to fight, and sometimes we're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable, but that's what it's going to take. But I'm going to do my job as your professional advisor to try to find off market properties and opportunities that other people don't have, so I can bring value to the table. I would love to be your agent. What I'm going to go through today is, the commitment that we make to each other. Luckily for you, the seller pays the commission on the other side. So I work with only 5 buyers a month because I spend a lot of time finding homes for my buyers. So I need that commitment from you that you want to put me to work for free, of course, for you, but I can take you on right now because I have 4 people and you would be my 5th. So would you like to work together?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you give credits back to the buyer?
No, actually I don't. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't. Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is something I've heard.
I think there's a company called Redfin. Those agents actually, they work by the hour. These are the agents that usually failed in actually becoming really good advisors, and they were not successful in the business, but they actually work by the hour. They actually think get back half the commission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could work with them.
But they fail?
They fail.
Okay, well, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, they fail. So, I mean, think about it. If you're going to invest $500,000, because you are about to buy something for $500,000.
Yeah, that makes sense when you explain it that way.
Yeah, you want a company that cares about their agents. So, and I would talk like this, even if I didn't sell 1 million homes a year, right? So my company, they actually literally spend 3 hours to 4 or 5 hours a week just teaching us how to be the best advisors for you in an industry that, you just can get a license for like $250. So, so 80% of the agents fail their first year.
Oh, wow.
And I've actually been doing this for 2 years, and I've sold 2 times the national average. That's 8 homes, right? So if you're selling 8 homes, I sell 2 times the national average, and I've only been doing it for 2 years, but that's because my company, eXp Realty, they literally train us to death, 75 hours a week. So I won't be one of those, Redfin agents that, work by the hour.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Cool. How cool is that? I just got another client. So, all right. So I think, again, you want to use whatever you have, your company, your leverage, your, whatever you can spin off to the client to make them feel like they need you. Like, I want to leave that meeting going, I need to work with her. I need to work with him because he's going to protect me. He's got my best interest at heart. He knows what he's talking about because he just told me 3 or 4 tidbits about the market that were awesome, that I didn't know about as a consumer. He made me feel so excited, or she made me feel so excited about the fact that I'm going to be investing in a really cool asset and a growing market. It makes them feel like this whole challenge is worth it. And I think it is worth it. I think we're going to be like the next San Diego type market.
I was just gonna say that I've been reaching out to a lot of agents that I know live in, going on looking at 12 Oaks or whatever neighborhood I need to find a buyer a home in. And I actually got one that was canceled, contacted the agent, they were taking it off.
Come up closer so they can hear.
Well, you can.
Just come here. Come here. You're going to be on camera.
No, I'm not gonna be on camera, I'll just talk right
Just
here.
talk right here. Okay.
Okay.
You look great.
Hello.
I
So
can hear
anyway,
you.
I've been contacting because we have so many people that can't find a home, and I had clients in Chicago, and so I reached out to agents that I knew lived in the neighborhood and asked him. He sells a lot in the neighborhood, and just said, "Hey, do you have anything coming?" And then there was one that I called canceled, expired or whatnot. So I called that agent because that's how we found a $1.5 million house as well for one of our clients. But I contacted them and we got in the property before. They didn't end up buying it, but they had a good chance to get it before it hit the market, and it was in the 5. So call other, like, make good contacts with agents because they have properties coming up. I know Danielle just contacted me. I have a coming soon. She saw something pop in and she has a client looking in that price point. So when you make contacts with agents, because people need off-market properties, that is a good way to just provide value. Hey, I'm going to call this neighborhood. Hey, I'm going to call this neighborhood. I've even had past clients of mine put in the neighborhood search, because obviously if I don't live there, I can't get in, that they have someone looking. So I'm like just trying to stretch and see whatever I can do to pick up properties off market for people.
And the thing is, like, you have to have a designated schedule and time to be doing this hunting. So if to me, the perfect time is the morning. That should be, turn your emails off. You don't care about what's happening on the inspection report. You don't care about the text or all the little notifications that bing on our phone because you got a messenger, on Facebook. You're just focused on building the business for the clients you have in your database. The people that are, I always looked at, who are my hots, right? Who are my active, ready, willing, and able now? I need to focus on those people. So if it's a seller, I need to figure out why their home's not selling. I need to, do something in the computer where I can boost their listing, something, you're trying to work on getting those homes sold and then getting buyer clients what they need. So, but it should be filling the database in the morning, right? It should be adding to your business. It should be bringing in new opportunities and then servicing the opportunities. So it's bring in new opportunities in the morning, service the opportunities, and then go on appointments all afternoon. So your morning is very productive on building your business. So it's business building mode, and then servicing mode, showing appointments, talking to sellers, doing emails, all that junk we do.
And I was going to say, I never wanted to ask for the buyer agency. Well, a lot of times I still don't. I will sign it when we do the offer. But I had someone call, found us online, did all the research on our reviews. He interviewed me and 4 agents, read every review I had on Zillow, and ended up going with me. And again, said, like, why are you different? And all these questions. And I made him, I said, I need you to sign this agency agreement. Never met with them, didn't do a Zoom call with them until after I had him sign it. Because I said, I'm not going to, I only have certain clients, like what Tina said, and I'm working with those people. And if I'm working for you, I want to know that you're working with me, because we're having so many out of town clients that I finally felt confident enough to say, hey, you're going to sign this, because I don't want him working with 3 other agents in the back and go, sorry, Ashley, you went out and FaceTime 17 properties for me because I'm over here and now I'm going to get a house with someone else.
But where does that come from?
From, well, doing it over and over again, confidence and saying,
and what else?
Getting burned.
getting burned. Yeah.
Well, getting burned, but here's one more thing.
What?
When you generate, you don't tolerate.
Oh yeah.
It's so true. When you know how to get into the office and make shit happen.
So I was
Sorry for my language,
Right.
but when you can make it happen, you don't have to tolerate. She has the confidence enough to go, I'm actually overwhelmed. I have too many clients right now, which is a great problem to have. So you're going to sign this contract because I don't need you. You need me. That is the attitude you all have to have. Because right in the beginning, you have commission breath. Oh my God, I just want anybody to work with me. Please work with me and buy this home or sell this home, right? And you just will lower your commission and take the list. I just need a listing. No, you don't. You don't need a sign in the yard that's not going to sell. So you'll take any listing at any price with any bozo that's willing to work with you. But it ends up being an awful experience, which tarnishes your ability to love this business, right? In the beginning. So be very, very critical about your value, right? What is your value? Because if you're not worth it,
right, you have to know that you're worth it,
Correct.
And you have to believe it. And that's when I was like, no, you're going to sign this, because I don't work with people out of town if they don't sign with me, because I'm working for them and I'm with you. He said, well, what if it doesn't work out? And I said, if I'm not answering you for 2 weeks, then there's an issue. But otherwise, we're sticking to this
2
contract.
weeks, 2 days.
Well, I'm saying, like, if whatever. I mean, sometimes you
I
can't
know
get
what
to,
you
and he's in California, so he's messaging me at midnight. And I'm like, I'm not going to answer you that night. But I was confident enough. And I also told him, and Carrie, which no one ever else said to him, which was something that he said differentiated me from other people, that schools are capped. Certain schools are capped. So you really need to call and make sure. He said, no other agent I talked to said that to me, because I'm not going to sell you a home in a district where you don't know what school you're getting into. So if you always have their best interest at mind and you always know that you're doing the right thing, good things will happen for you. You just can't come from, I just have to sell you a home.
That school was a big deal.
The school's
It
big deal.
is, yeah.
That was something that differentiates. So if you have people from out of town, maybe mention that, because if that's something that's really important to them, they need to call.
You
So-
need to be the
Yeah,
expert. Thank you, dear. Good job. Good job.
Article that you posted too is having. all the
Article,
knowledge,
yeah.
right, About what's going on in the area, so you have those nuggets, you are different at that point, because you're.
Right.
that's the value.
It's interesting to me, when we look at our goals, we were doing our team meeting, one of your goals for the year should be learning and learning your craft, right? Learning your skills, learning about the markets, being knowledgeable about what schools are available, what colleges, the diversified job market. When you can speak like that, people are like, ooh, I want to work with that person.
Back to the schools, if you have a young couple that does not have kids yet, and they're really concerned about the schools and school districts, how do you handle that? I mean, I try to blow it off and steer them in a different direction, but how do you?
Don't say steer.
Okay, my bad. We're gonna go ahead and-
Don't say blow off. Don't say steer. That's a dirty word in this business.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on, here's what I tell people about schools, which this drives me nuts because the more analytical people are like obsessed with the ratings, right? So who am I to tell a person that this school is better than this school because of the ratings? Is this school with 4 point whatever full of kids? Yeah, their parents, their families, everybody goes to that school. So every child in America is going to have a different experience based on them, their family, their personalities, and their abilities. Every school is different. Most of us, probably I'm guessing, did not go to private school, correct? Did anybody, right? How many went to public school? Raise your hand. All of us. Now it's like private, I want to put my kids in private. Why? I mean, if you have the ability, awesome. But it's like, there's so many different, everybody figured it out. And so I think a lot of parents, what I tell people is, if you want to go to that school, go talk to the families and the people that go to that school. But I would talk to the other families and people that go to this school too. Let them do their own due diligence. And then you kind of let them see that every school is full of people and full of kids. And, some are going to thrive and some are not, whether you're at the best school or it all comes down to the family and the parents that are going to push their child and, whatever. So I don't know. The school thing annoys me because I'm like, you can really pick it apart. If somebody has a need, there's a special need for the child. Yes, you want to really kind of get in there and dig deep. But I would just have that little bit of, why is it so important to you? Have you done your diligence? Have you talked to other families at that school and let them kind of make a decision, based on that? So, because we really can't really talk a lot about it. My opinion's different than yours, and
Wayne County schools are really good.
they're really good. I mean,
There's so many options, whether it's
Right.
private, charter, whatever.
Right.
That you'll be able to find the right fit for you.
Yes. So, and we have other, we have on our team, we have former teachers. If you know a former teacher, that's a friend, that's whatever, just get opinions of others. But that's a great point, bringing that up too. Again, you're just trying to position yourself as an advocate, as somebody who knows. And if you don't know, it's okay. Learn it. Learn about our colleges and our diversified markets, and speak to that as their advisor, and get them excited that they're making a great decision moving into any city in our areas, because they're all going up in value. So, all right. So we've, any questions thus far? Yes, ma'am.
Where are you getting those numbers for the neighborhoods?
So we use, she said, where are you getting the numbers for the neighborhoods? There's a company called Caul Directory or Caul, what is it called?
Caul Realty.
Caul-
Realty.
What is it?
Caul
We
Realty.
don't take Realty Resource.
Caul Realty Resource. Caul is
And Caul.
Angie Caul.
Okay.
That's a dirty word. No, I'm just kidding. We love Angie. Caul Realty Resource is a way that you can pull in massive amounts of numbers, but you have to stick them typically in a dialing system. So I think KV Core has a little dialer, but you also can do RedX, Mojo Dialer, Vulcan Dialer. If you're going to be really serious about reaching out to people, which I would become obsessed with that idea that you are in a people business, but you have to get in front of a lot of people and then have conversations with them. You pull these numbers in certain neighborhoods and then you start dialing. If you own a home in a neighborhood, you should be pulling everybody from your neighborhood, putting them into a dialing system, and then you become the mayor of that neighborhood. Everybody should know that you live in your neighborhood. And if they don't, shame on you, because your neighbors can make your mortgage payment. And I know that in every neighborhood I've lived in, I've made enough connections that my referral business from my neighborhood pays for my entire mortgage for every year that I've lived in my home. So think about that. You pay your mortgage, meet your neighbors. So because they're going to be moving, and if they think of you immediately when they think of moving, that is the goal. So start with your neighborhood and become the mayor of your neighborhood. So okay. We did our little, follow-up script, which again is very easy. I'm calling to update my files to see if you're still in the market to buy a home or to find out if you've already purchased something. That should just be the opening line for every single callback on those leads. That it's not a Zillow lead where somebody says, I want to see 123 Apple Lane. It's just those people that register on the sites and you never know what to say to them. And then you go into, oh, I'm no longer looking. Well, great. Well, have you ever thought about buying an investment property? All of my clients are just dying to get into properties right now because money is free. So if you have a 401, you give them the idea and now their wheels are spinning. Why didn't my agent say that? So we've done that and then we've made the appointment. Why don't we do real quickly, because I think everybody's a little bit different. Why don't we do a little role play of when you meet a client and you go through your packet, and Emily can be, we'll be your buyers, your husband, wife.
Do you want to do role play or you want me to explain how I do it?
Oh, we could do a little role. I mean, who wants to see a role play or an explanation? Role play. I knew they were going to say that. We'll just do it because I think it's like you can say it, but then the delivery is always great. And so we'll just pretend that we met at a Starbucks or whatever, and you're meeting us.
So typically, the way that I would do it before is if it was, let's say, a Zillow connection, I would talk to them and I would try to get them into the office to have a conversation prior to going and touring homes. Lately, what we have seen, the trend has been, I really want to see this house. When, can you show it tomorrow at 2 p.m. or whatever? So I'll meet them at the house. I don't necessarily engage a lot in questions prior to, because I don't want them to feel like I'm being too intrusive. And so by the time that we get to the house, it comes to, everything has been set up. So it just comes to, hi, Tina and Emily, how are you? How is it going? Great.
Good.
It's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm so glad. I know that you said that you have been looking at homes for a little while. And so, I do appreciate the opportunity to get to know each other. I always say that it's good to put a face to a name, right? Well, so this is how it's going to work out. Please, feel free to ask me any questions as we go along. I certainly want to make sure that we make the most of our time, and that, I can kind of answer all questions that you may have and kind of just make our time very productive. So what I'm going to do is we're going to walk into the house. I have the information here as far as like this specific information for this home. And then I have some other information for our team and what we do, just so that you understand how it works. The reason how Zillow connected us is when you call Zillow wants to provide the best service to the consumer that's engaging them. So they look at who the local experts for that area are, and so they pair us. And so that's why I'm here, because our team sells about 350 homes to 400 homes in this area. So we're considered the local experts. So I can assure you that whatever you're looking for, I can bring to the table, or I can certainly look for it. Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. So once I walk into the house, I would typically just go off the MLS and I would say, well, this house, we are right now in Cary and Apex. There are a lot of clients moving in from other areas. So they may not necessarily know the difference between a Holly Springs and a Cary and an Apex and Morrisville. Everything kind of looks the same to them. So I always want to make sure that I kind of engage with them. And I said, well, this house, we are in Cary. This specific house is, 2,500 square feet. It was built in 2008. These are the updates that the house has to it: 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 3 bathrooms, whatever the situation may be. So from there, I would just kind of walk them throughout the house. And there's just no way for me to role play without kind of explaining. I always try to see what the cues are of what they're more attracted to from the house. Because if it's a single or a couple without children, where their head is at is very different than if they have 2 kids and 2 pets. Like, they're going to be looking at the backyard, they're going to be wanting privacy, they're wanting to look for some other things. So kind of going back to the role play. So, so how do you feel? How does this house feel to you? I know that sometimes when you're looking at pictures online, you don't necessarily get a good feel of, the vibe and the house. So is this kind of what you were expecting to see?
The backyard looked a lot bigger
Mhm.
in the photos.
Right, pictures came
In
in
the
this evening,
kitchen,
right?
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice, but I don't think it's stolen for us.
Yeah, it looked really updated, but now when I look at the cabinets and stuff, they're not as crisp as the pictures look. So
Yeah.
we would like something probably a little more updated.
So in order, in an ideal world, to make this house the house for you, like what would be the main things that you would change to it? I know you said that the cabinets, and I know you said a bigger backyard. Is there anything else that you would change? How about the location? How about everything else?
I like the location.
Yeah, we're in
Yeah.
Cary, right?
Yeah.
So
That's what I
location.
want.
So Carrie is what you want.
Yeah.
I like the tree. I like the aesthetic of the neighborhood. I like the
Mhm.
tree-lined streets, and I like how this one is on a cul-de-sac. It doesn't have to be a cul-de-sac, but I like the setting of the house. I just feel like it feels a little more run down than the
Mhm.
picture showed. So I don't know if I'm being too picky or realistic, but I would like to have it be kind of done.
Yeah.
Older home, but renovated.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, what I typically tell my clients is, other than deciding, who you're going to marry and if you're going to have children, buying a house is one of the most important decisions you will ever make, right?
Mhm.
And so it's, you have to go for whatever speaks to you. And I agree, this house, it's not looking as pristine as it was in the picture. So I definitely want to make sure that, we kind of get you to what you want, definitely. So what I'm gathering is, you're looking for a single family home, a bigger backyard, something more updated,
Mhm.
and Cary is the location of where you want to be.
Yeah.
So typically, what I love to do is, as a broker, I have access to the whole kind of platform that runs the show. It's called the multiple listing service. So, and what I like to offer my clients is, and you may not necessarily know this, but it is the MLS that feeds all of the consumer sites. So your Zillows and your Trulias and your Redfins. What a lot of people do not know is that actually does happen only twice a day. That site feeds these other internet sites twice a day, where our platform will notify you in real time. So what I would love to do is, depending on what availability you guys have, for us to actually be able to sit down and kind of take a look at what the inventory has to offer
Mhm.
firsthand. And from that point, deciding what would be the best fit for you, and, kind of picking out some other properties and, going to check those out. Is that something that you would be interested in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
I think
great.
that'd be great.
Perfect. So my office is not too far from here. You kind of tell me what works for you. I'll be happy to accommodate to your schedule. What I'll do is, bring you in and we can take a look at that. What would be a good day this week?
Right now, this minute.
That's
So
now.
excited.
Let's go. I'm ready. And
Yeah.
so at that point, I will bring him in, and we'll sit down. If I see that the client has a little bit more time, I actually do present. This is our buyer packet that we use here for Caul Group. And depending on kind of where they are, if they are newer clients moving to this area, buying their first or second home, they may not necessarily have a lot of information on how it actually works to buy a house in North Carolina. And what I always tell them is, even if you're as close as South Carolina or Virginia, buying a home is a different process state by state. And so they may not necessarily know about due diligence and earnest money, and that North Carolina is a buyer beware state where, the houses are being sold as is and sellers don't have to do any repairs to the homes. So sometimes while we're in the meeting, I will kind of just present the buyer packet. I don't go into details as far as to what this is, because this is a lot, but I'll just tell them that on this side, they will have the standard North Carolina real estate forms. This is, working with real estate agents, and this would be the document that would, get us to work together if that should be their decision. And then on the other side, this is what our team does for our buyers. Some other, I guess, just helpful information on what are the other costs associated with buying a home in North Carolina. And so I feel like they really appreciate that. And once you present it to them that way, as long as you're coming from just delivering value, and for them to understand that you're going to be their advocate and that you're willing to go above and beyond and kind of understand what their needs are, I feel like that's really what a buyer wants.
Yeah. And I think that part of it too is important to give them an education. Like you do a really good job at telling them like how the market is and how offers, you know, how much due diligence they're going to have to see. So really setting the expectation on this is not going to be just an easy breezy thing. We may lose a couple properties, because when they start losing a few properties, they start looking to you as it's your fault, right? And they start losing confidence in you. A lot of times what I would also recommend that you all do is show them what's active, but really show them what has sold in their price point in the area with the criteria that they want in the last 60 days. If you pull that for them and literally sit down and show them everything that has sold, they're going to get an idea in their head that, oh my God, everything seems to be going over market value. Wow, that's crazy. I wish we could see the due diligence on every single property that sells too. But you can really give them that education, and they might see like this, you know, wow, I'm going to have to pay over asking. So I better trust my agent on how much more I'm going to have to ask, because it shows them proof. So now you're going again one step above what every other agent's going to do, is just show them the actives. Let's just show them what could be, what they could buy, and show them that the fact that in Cary, if they're looking at above $1 million, there's only 1 or 2 houses a month that are selling. So 1 or 2 a month, and these guys want to find a house. We have a client right now that I think Ashley's working with, and every day, like, is there any new houses on the market? Did anything new No, like there's not going to be a plethora of $1 million to $1.4 million right now in the middle of Preston. Like it's just, there's nothing. So when you show them in the last 90 days, 2 have sold or 3 in their criteria, then they might start believing you and not blaming you because you're not sending them anything that they want, or you're just not sending them anything because nothing's coming up.
I've started doing that recently. I print out, like, for the neighborhood that I'm showing them the home in, like I'll print out the comp sheet and I'll go back like 6 months and show like the list to sales price ratio, which is usually like 104%. And then just to educate them that you can't come in 10, 15, 20,000 under, which I had a client, it's a multiple offer situation, like 15 offers. He's like, I think we'll go in 20 under. I said, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, there's no point in me wasting my time.
How did you nicely tell them that? I mean,
She said, we're not going to do that.
I said, how about we start off with a verbal offer?
Okay.
We'll send an email,
Tommy.
and if we get lucky,
If we get lucky.
you know, we can put it in writing.
Yeah.
But
And they were okay with that?
they voted, yes, they were okay with it, because I wasn't going to do it. I mean, they had 10 offers on the table. We're not going to come in 20
Yeah.
under. So I think first time home buyers don't realize, especially if they're coming from another market, they don't realize, you know, what's going on in this area. So just showing them physically, here's 5, 10 homes just in this neighborhood that sold in the last 6 months, and they sold well over asking. I think that.
Did they decide to not make the offer, or just?
No, we didn't. They're still looking, but no, they didn't make the offer.
They have to get used to it. I think it's like a heart attack. Like they come into our market. A lot of people come into our market thinking we live in some podunk land that they're going to get some 5-bedroom house for $200,000. I'm like, that is not this part of Raleigh. So
Unless they're coming from like New York or something. and
Right.
You know.
yeah, like our market has arrived, people. We're on the map now. So everybody wants to live here, and that's a good thing for them. Like they're investing in a place that, you know, is growing in value. So what other questions do we have? Oh, back there.
So if you do over asking for buyers,
Right.
because that's what they have to do. In the offer, do you put that the buyer will make up the appraisal difference if it doesn't?
Only if the buyer will make up the appraisal difference. If it doesn't, I mean, that's up to your buyer. Mackenzie had a buyer, she's not here, but she said $35,000 due diligence. That's crazy, but that's happening. I got $50,000 due diligence on my house that we just sold. So we had 2 offers. So Mackenzie, $35,000. The buyer said, I want this house. I don't care. I will pay the difference in appraised value. I may not even have an appraisal. Was she cash?
Not cash.
Not
they're
cash.
Putting down so much. That
Right.
Maybe appraisal waived.
Yeah, they were putting down so much that the appraisal may have been waived. But again, if you have a client that just, you know, they've been through the ringer and they don't care, whether you buy the home for $450,000 or $470,000 in a market that's just going crazy, that $20,000, if you're gonna live in that home for 7, 8, 9 years, you don't care. It's such a small amount in the bigger picture. And that's the thing. That payment, that $20,000 may sound like a lot, but if you look at it from a payment perspective, you know, if you can get this house and it's going to cost you another $60 a month to live here, and your payment and you an appreciation on it, and yeah, absolutely, and a tax write-off, whatever. So
I actually had one recently. I had a listing and a buyer came in on the deal with a $10,000 due diligence, just closed yesterday. And, they were going with Wells Fargo or something, put like 40 days because of the timing of the holiday and everything. I gave them Kendra, who's one of our lenders we use, and she ended up using her
Mhm.
because we were actually gonna try to close in 2030.
Sooner.
I think we went under contract in December. So I gave the other agent a couple of our lenders and said, hey, if you wanna close it quickly and know it's gonna get done and move forward, take them. And she went with them.
Yeah.
And they probably were a better deal than Wells Fargo, but don't feel, that you can't do that. If you need to help people through it, or just say, my person can get it done in 2 weeks, especially if you like that deal and you see who their pre-approvals through, just offer it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like I
I
said,
mean, there's a lot of ways. I mean, think about it. These people are willing to put $35,000 on the table. I think they even waived inspections. I mean, most inspections that we're seeing we're seeing $2,000 to $3,000, right, Ashley? It wasn't like $2,000 to $3,000 on inspection repairs for our sellers on average.
and this one, they didn't, the one I just closed, they didn't ask for anything because they said we had 10,000 of their money. They didn't even.
Well, that's what I'm
ask.
saying. But if on average, a house is going to have $2,000 to $3,000. So if you're buying a home and you're in the high, very competitive market, and you put down $10,000 due diligence, you could even say, I'm waiving. I'm not asking for any repairs. You're not waiving inspections, right? You're still going to do your inspection. I know in California they waive everything, but you're still doing inspections, but you're not going to ask for anything, because if you just add up in your mind with the buyer, it might be another $2,000 to $3,000 worth of, junk on the house that you have to fix. That seller's going to go, wow, high due diligence. They're not going to bug me for all these stupid little repairs, which are the most annoying thing. Then I think that offer shines. So
I've done that a lot recently with waiving repairs. If it's like a 1960s or 70s house, I guess we have to be careful, but
yes,
with the newer homes, it's worked every
just
time.
waive it.
You just
It's
do
worked.
that in the email, here's our offer, and I've already let
Yeah,
the
I just
buyers
put it
know
in
we're
writing
not.
that,
That's how I've gotten clients of mine to win houses in multiple offer situations lately. I like to pick up the phone and have a conversation with the listing agent.
If
Just
they'll
be
talk to you.
extra sweet and be nice and
Yeah,
tell them I worked with these buyers before. They're amazing. They're not gonna sweat the small stuff. Kind of tell them what the terms of the offers are.
Uh-huh.
Over asking, high due diligence, 3 weeks, or 3-4 weeks to close, no repairs, and they will take care of any difference in appraisal. And then I will put it in writing as well. And, sometimes they'll just like, perfect, sounds good. We'll do it if that's the case.
I had a good question on here from Mary Ann. At what point do you ask if they're already working with an agent? So you don't waste time meeting with them to only find out that they're already signed with another agent?
I think for us, we have probably, well, what is your opinion on that?
I usually ask a ton of questions, so I normally hope that it'll come out.
Mhm.
I'll ask if they've been out to physically see homes.
How are they seeing them?
Yeah, and then I'll sometimes say, who's your agent, and see if I can catch them.
Yeah, the who's your agent is good. Who's your like if you're just on the phone quickly with people. My feeling was, you might waste your time and you might get out there and find out that they have an agent. Most people don't have an agent, because when you start asking agents, most people don't sign buyer agency right day one. They just don't. And so it could just be another door opener type agent that just went and opened the door, wasn't strong enough to get the client to convert. That client meets you. And to me, they don't have an agent. They're just, they're really just trying to figure out who their agent is. And then we give them that opportunity to interview with them. I think that's kind of a good strategy as well. Because if you say, do you have an agent? Yeah, we have one. When they might really not. They're just saying that it's kind of like when you're shopping at the store and you walk in and you go, can we help you? Nope. But then the minute you need that salesperson, what are you doing? Where is that lady? I'm ready, right? So it's just a deflection. And I think do you have an agent? Yeah, we have someone. I doubt it. So I want to really go in there, try to get in front of them, give them a great education, have one of our advisors really try to help them and give them something of value, and then educate them on signing something there. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I get this is a big investment for you. You're going to spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on this home. Just like a seller interviews 2 or 3 agents for their listing, usually the buyers we work with interview us for the job of finding them a home. So I want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence when you're interviewing me for the job of helping you find a home. I only work with 4 or 5 buyers a month because it is so time I have to invest so much of my time on each one of these relationships and making sure that I do the things that are going to get you the results. So, in order to move forward with me, we looked at this house today. I would love to interview for that job. And if you decide to list with me or work with me, then we're just going to sign a commitment to each other that just says that we will work together. And that's it. And I think if they can't get that, then they're just not the people that you want to work with anyway. Because the weirdest thing is when you've gone out and shown them 3 houses now on 3 different occasions, and now all of a sudden you're whipping out an agreement, and it's creepy. It's like, oh, well, what, you don't trust me now? All of a sudden you trusted me these 3 other times. And it's just awkward. It's so much more professional to bring it out in the beginning, show it to them, be confident about it. Would you ever take a listing without a signed listing agreement? Heck no, we would never do that. Why would we put a buyer in our car for hours upon hours upon hours of, we don't even spend that much time with the sellers. I'm literally in and out the door in an hour, and I just took a listing for potentially $13,000 or whatever, but I'm going to put a buyer in my car for 60 viewings. And then I find out that their Uncle Bob sold them the house, or they went to the on-site agent and didn't tell them they were using an agent. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
was gonna tell everyone in here about that too. Make sure if you send clients to new construction or you start to work with them, tell the agent that
Yes.
they're working with someone. And you may think that they're gonna do it, but they don't.
Yeah,
just had
they
that happen
don't.
to me. I literally had a signed agency agreement, wrote like 4 offers on resale homes for him. He went to Lennar, didn't say he was working with an agent. They won't
Yeah.
pay us.
Our staff on-site agent, come on up here and tell us what we should do. Come on, Matt. Come on, Matt.
All right, here I
Just
am.
only because it's hard to hear the voice.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
you got to
I'm
project.
the loudest guy in the room.
Okay. So Matt has been an on-site agent for Terramore Homes for
Taylor Morrison
Taylor Morris Homes for 5 years.
5 years. Well, for me, when buyers came in and they said they were working, or they didn't tell me they were working with an agent, it's always a lie. A lot of times they're just working on what their credit, what their realtor credits were going to be coming back. So I spent a lot of time in West Cary. That's it.
Mhm.
That being said, I pushed them back. I actually told them to go away and come back with their agent. Because what happens for us on the builder side is we wind up being dual agents if they sign. And I hate having a buyer tell me, or having a buyer under contract that's not represented, because then everything falls on the on-site agent. So I think the biggest thing is just developing relationships with those on-site agents because I mean, we got our picks. You have Taylor Morrison, Lennar, Toll Brothers, and was it Pulte? Just develop relationships with those on-site agents and say, don't let your buyer, because at the end of the day, you're still going to pay the commission.
Right.
Don't get
Now,
yourself
some
in that
on-site
situation.
agents are not that way though.
No, I mean,
We've
they're
had
not,
to fight
but,
with it. They signed and registered. Well, now
we
they've
push it
picked
hard.
us as an agent.
That's
They
true.
want representation.
Mhm.
So there's some on-site agents that literally will not allow another human being to have representation. It's
ugly.
very it's
It
very
is-
ugly.
It's
Yeah.
been on both sides.
It's not
And-
ethical and it shouldn't be done. It
Yeah.
actually should be banned, but they can't even have that decision before the client signs, but I
Yeah.
know it's
No, it's
Procuring costs.
procuring
yeah,
costs.
procuring
I
costs.
know.
We don't, yeah,
Another on-site over
builders
there.
don't pay for representation. They
I
pay for
didn't.
procuring
I
costs,
know.
but
Yeah. It's true.
the biggest thing is just making sure that obviously you do everything you can. You stack them up with cards, but don't just develop relationships with your agents. And I think us on the other side, I think you get a lot of folks that are new on-site agents that have never worked in the general world. I'm one of them. I've spent my entire career so far in new construction. But knowing how, one of the things that makes the whole process work better for everybody is knowing how everybody gets paid. And so educating as a general agent, going in and talking to on-site agents and going, hey, listen, I don't get paid if they buy a house from you and they're my client. So ask. And as that training continues, it sticks, but it's not a foregone conclusion for sure.
Yeah,
But,
no, I appreciate that. I think and that's another thing, you can arm them with a bunch of cards because we don't even use our cards these days. Your cards should be for the buyer. Give them a stack and be like, this is, even if you don't use me as your agent, and I would say, even if you don't use me as your agent, just go in and say that you have an agent and you can give them my card, because you will lose your opportunity to ever have representation again if you don't. And they don't, like you said, you're not going to make any more, and you don't have an advocate. I mean, you're going to obviously advocate not do the wrong thing, but you're working really
for the builder.
for the builder, so it's hard.
And your group specifically, you never give a credit if they don't, or will you give them like an appliance package or something?
What's that again?
If they don't have an agent, will you give them?
No,
extra.
and agents, particularly that buyer client would ask me, hey, well, I'm not represented, what will you give me? My answer was nothing.
Right. I love that answer. Good for you. Clap to that.
And they looked at me with this squirrely eyed look, and I go, listen, we don't want a representation with the broker community because we need the brokers more than we need you.
Right.
If the word got out in the broker community that we were giving credits because you were unrepresented, how do you think that would make us look in the market? We're not going to take that step.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a great conversation again to have.
So
Yeah, thank you. You're awesome. Thank you. All right, any other questions, concerns, delusions that we can help solve?
Jennifer, you got some props from Kathy Lynch. So that was awesome. Your role play.
Is she good? They're so good. Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, look at her. She wants to do that. Yeah.
I have a quick
Question,
question.
yeah.
Back to the agreement. So if you have, let's say potential clients who have reached out to you and they're, letting you know what they're looking for. So during the search should be the minute you do go to take them to look at one property is when you think is best to bring up that agreement.
I think not the minute that you, just like Jen did, like out of the car, I've got this folder, right? And I'm going to explain to you the rules and regs. And sometimes you can just blame it on North Carolina law. I have to present this to you. This is just something, if an agent is not presenting this to you, the minute they meet you, run, right? So you can make it like every other agent is not presenting this, that's a problem. And I'm a professional with a code of ethics and standards, and I have to present this to you. And oh, by the way, this is how I run my business. So take it or leave it, right? I mean, you're in charge of your own business. So we don't want people to walk all over us. They already see us as used car salesmen half the time. So you want us to, really elevate the standards in our industry and act like a professional, be a professional, show them why you're valuable and why they should work with you. So, and when you start believing in that value, that's when you're going to get more of those signed in front of you. So,
How, I don't know if this is a silly question, how can we get a packet put together like that for?
I mean, you can look at our, packet or,
On Etsy,
yeah.
they have.
Yeah, Etsy, they have a bunch of
you buy
packets.
for like $17. It's like a starter.
EXP
Yeah.
Marketing Center.
EXP Marketing Center has packets like that. Yep,
So
so
you shoot their template, so you can kind of edit them. a little bit,
Yeah,
too.
so she was asking about packages on Etsy. There's a bunch of buyer packets, seller packets that you can buy. And then again, EXP has a bunch of little the packet's not so important. It's just that you have something, right? You have something to give them, a little, explanation about what, even if it's just a folder with literally the buyer agency agreement and the working with agents brochure and your card. I mean, you don't have to have I never had any of this fancy stuff ever. I just literally showed up with my little Remax blue folder, when I worked with Remax. So I didn't have packets.
How often do you guys go through that buyer presentation in the packet?
If
All
I'm,
the time. I mean,
What'd
why
you
do you
say?
take that one?
so the reality is,
All
we
the
don't
time.
very often though, right? I mean, we leave it, and I think we
Yeah.
feel like we need printed material, but you guys probably.
I think it looks professional. I think it looks nice. It has our logo on it. And I
She
think-
just said I didn't know we had that. But she's our top agent, sold 50 homes this year. Oh,
The
it's
new one. I didn't know we had a new one. I'm
I
gonna
was
use
like,
it now.
how do you not do that? Okay, good.
I always have, what I do is I have them in the trunk of my car, just in case. And I don't go over it if I'm just meeting the client, like at a house, that's overwhelming. Don't be weird. I just want to see the house type of thing.
Sarah, don't be weird. Be weird. Get the contract.
but next time I'm meeting with them,
Right.
that's when I really kind of, go into detail and kind of explain. And
And you do that at an office the next time. Like you
I
do
do.
the first meeting and then she gets them. She likes to get people back to the office.
I do. I just think that it helps me. And so naturally, and I think it helps them to kind of put them more in a professional setting. Like if I met with you once and I can prove to you that we can have a relationship, because first and foremost, that's what people want. People like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And I was actually listening to a good podcast, and Ashley and I were talking about it this morning. And there was a team leader, they're selling 450 homes a year. And she was saying that the difference between a contact and a contract is the R for relationships. And I thought that was so
I
good.
like that.
I was like,
That's a
yeah,
good
because that's
one,
what
yeah.
people want, to be able to create a relationship. And, if at that first meeting, I have shown to them that I can bring value, that I care, genuinely care, to be there for them for their purchase of the home, then at the second meeting, I feel like, we're good to establish that relationship moving forward, I guess.
Thank you.
I like that little nugget.
Mhm.
Yeah, Severa. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're 12:10. We're going over, so I think we're wrapping it up. Hopefully, you got some nuggets out of that today, everybody. And Happy New Year. Yay. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Oops.